Do you want to get better at building in Minecraft? Here are a few things that help me improve, so let's get to it. Number 1. Size. Start small. Something manageable and easy to make. Something like this maybe. All jokes aside, this is what you build when you have experience and when you want to challenge yourself. I'm talking about something more like this, a simple house. It's cozy, it's easy to manage, and most importantly, it's small. I like to call these bite-sized builds. And especially when you're a beginner, this is really important. Try building things you can realistically finish in an hour or less. Finishing 10 small builds will teach you a lot more than spending 10 hours on one massive project that you will never finish. Number 2. Details. Details can make or break a build. But this tip is actually closely connected to the first one. You can add hundreds of details to a building, but you have to ask yourself, does it actually make sense? Will a massive window fit better on a town hall or a tiny cottage? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Your details should be proportionate to the size and purpose of the build, and you don't have to go overboard. Just look at this build. There's nothing crazy going on here, but the details are enough to make it interesting. Number 3. Style. Every building has a style. Maybe you're going for medieval, gothic, neoclassical, or something completely different. But when you're a beginner, I don't think you need to worry too much about getting the style perfectly right. Instead, ask yourself, does it make sense for the build? Does the shape, material, and decoration fit what you're trying to build? Once you understand that, developing your own style becomes a lot easier. Number 4 and 5. Mixing it up and storytelling. Now, you might be thinking, aren't these basically the same thing? And you'd be partially right, but I think they represent two completely different ideas. Mixing it up is about trying new things. A build doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical, and every part of it doesn't have to come from the exact same time period. Take this castle for example. It has several different architectural styles, ranging from an early 11th century Norman keep to a Victorian style tower and palace wing. In real life, for a building like this to exist, it would probably have needed hundreds of years of continuous occupation, expansion, and maintenance. Now, the real reason I added so many different design elements is much less interesting. I just thought it would look boring if I repeated the same thing everywhere. But by trying something different, I end up with a much more unique looking castle. And that brings me to storytelling. A great build shouldn't just look good, it should feel like something happened there. And when I say a build should be grounded in reality, I don't mean it has to be historically accurate. I mean that there should be a reason for the things you build. Why is the tower here? Why is one section of the wall newer than the other? Why does this part of the building look completely different? Maybe the original castle was expanded after the population grew. Maybe a fire destroyed one of the wings and it was rebuilt decades later. Maybe a section of the wall collapsed and was never repaired. Maybe a wealthy family bought the castle and added a giant Victorian wing because they wanted something more modern. You don't have to explain this to the player. The important thing is that you know the story. Because once you start building with that in mind, you stop placing details just because they look cool. You start placing them because they make sense, and ironically, that's usually what makes a build feel more realistic. The best part is that you can tell these stories without using a single sign or book. And the last tip, failure. You're going to fail. Whether you like it or not, it's part of the process. Some builds are going to look terrible, even if you spent hours on them. And that's completely okay. You're going to get frustrated, you're going to get angry. Sometimes you'll probably want to take a break from building altogether, and honestly, you should. Because building is a learning process, and you can't expect every idea you have to work. Sometimes the best thing you can do is start over again. Just leave it alone for a day and come back with a fresh perspective. I've personally learned this the hard way, so don't be afraid of failing, because it's part of the process.